Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Renee Ledbetter. I'm a parent of 5 children, a UIA leader, and a member of Our Lady of the Assumption Church. I was born and raised in Ledbetter. I moved as an adult to Dallas, Texas to find stable employment. I lived there for about 10 years. As my children grew older, I decided to come back home so they could be near family and have the same experience I did as a child. I didn't realize things didn't change much here, and neither did the low wages in this area. Although I've come a long way since then, blessed with 5 children, 3 in college at the same time, unfortunately, I'm still trying to live paycheck to paycheck. As 2 of my children graduate with their master's degree, they too are struggling to find and secure employment that makes a decent wage. My daughter is barely making above minimum wage and has to work 2 jobs in order to pay her student loans as well as her living expenses. When will this end? When will the economy improve? When will the average citizen be able to live comfortably? Currently, there are 15,000 people living in the New Bedford area fighting the same fight. The minimum wage in Massachusetts is $8 an hour. UIA has been working with Representative Cabral, along with labor unions and community organizations, to propose legislation to raise the minimum wage to $11 over a period of 3 years, and to ensure that as cost of living rises, so will the minimum wage. Critics say it will hurt small and large businesses, but studies have shown that is not true. For example, UMass Amherst researchers have stated over a 16-year period, areas that raised minimum wage did not suffer employment loss. Raising the minimum wage to $11 will result in having $1.2 billion poured back into the economy. Doing such will not only help my family and improve the quality of life of 15,600 to 20,800 citizens in the greater New Bedford area. It will not only help individuals, but it will also help the economy in our city. I'm going to leave you with a scripture passage from Isaiah chapter 65. God envisions a world where no longer shall people labor in vain. Citizens of New Bedford, state representatives, and local government officials, let's make sure our people in New Bedford and our neighboring cities do not labor in vain. Let's raise the minimum wage. At this time, I would like to introduce Debbi Foster, who will now share her story.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Debbi Foster. Good. I'm currently a cashier at Save-A-Lot. After a year at Save-A-Lot, along with my previous experience as a cashier at Price Right, I now make 75% above minimum wage. Even with my $8.75 minimum wage, I still struggle. No matter how hard I worked or how many hours I received, it still wasn't enough. Due to low wages of my job, my family and I lived in poverty. There were many times I would go hungry so that my kids would not. I am ashamed to say that I was homeless not once but 3 times. At which point, I gave my children to their father. There is no worse feeling than having to give up your kids because you can't provide for them. I became depressed and wanted it all to end. Fortunately, the love for my children kept me strong. I discovered the only way out of poverty is to go back to school and get a higher paying job. I finally obtained my GED and went into North Shore Community College. I graduated I graduated with an associate's degree in liberal arts. Then I transferred to Everest College to become a medical assistant. But just halfway through the program, I had to drop out. With a minimum wage job, I could barely afford my rent, never mind tuition. Even with scholarships and school loans, I still fell short. Eventually, I got my children back and we just skated by. Here I am, 40 years old, and watching my daughter go through the same struggles I did. Due to the low variety of jobs and the low wages, my daughter is still without a job. It's painful for me not to be able to help my daughter. Because of my low wage, I can only afford to pay my bills, which does not leave much for other miscellaneous expenses. Living in the state of Massachusetts my whole life, I've seen many more families besides my own struggle to make ends meet with the minimum wage. Are you going to keep leaving us behind?